Hello everybody, my name is Eric Gray. This is actually my first YouTube video. This video is about my predictions for The Winds of Winter, the unreleased George R. R. Martin book from the Game of Thrones slash a Song of Ice and Fire saga. Um, First off, if you have not read all five books and all the Egg and Doug stuff and a bunch of stuff online, you probably shouldn't watch this. Okay. Um, and if you don't want to hear about spoilers and or theories and or predictions and or stuff that's rumored, don't watch this. Okay? Turn it off. Go do whatever you do. Okay. Um, so first off, it's gonna be a two-part video. I recorded this once and it's about 30 minutes. So it'll be two 15-minute videos. Um, so first off, big assumption, and it's not just my assumption, a lot of people have this theory. Um, I believe Jon Snow is the child of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen, not Ned Stark's, not Benjen's, not Robert Baratheon's, not a bunch of people's. I think he's Lyanna's and Rhaegar's child. I also think he's a legitimate child. I think they got married in secret. I believe, as far as the precedent goes, that Aegon the Conqueror married two women, so why not Rhaegar, right? He thinks he's, the one part of a dragon's head. Maybe his son is one part of a dragon's head, so he thinks that this is fine to do. I also don't believe that Stannis is dead. I don't believe that the pink letter. I believe it's true from a certain point of view, but it's not whole true, and we'll actually talk about that. I'm also not going to go into what already happened in the books. If you've read all the books, you know what's happening. But the beginning of the next book, I believe, starts before the end of the last book, just like he always does. There's a lot of overlap, right, from different points of view. I'm also not going to go into detail on how I think the chapter's going to play out, just what's going to happen. A lot of times, George R. R. Martin will give us an illusion that something else is happening when actually something else is happening. All right. So first off, in the north, Stannis is outside of Winterfell on a frozen lake. He's got control of Theon. We know this from the sample chapter, and he's going to behead Theon at the weirwood, as the ravens basically suggest. The ravens are actually Bronn or Blood Raven, as it is, directing Stannis to do this thing. So you had to ask your question, why do they want Stannis to go to the weirwood? Well, I believe that there's someone there, a Stark ally, basically a hater of the Bolton's phrase. A lot of people it can be. It could be the Blackfish, Horace Bane, it could even be Howland Reed, although I don't think it is. I think he's still in the neck. Basically, when you get there, that person's there, and that's the end of the chapter. But what actually happens between chapters is that a plot is struck between those people, the old Stark allies, and Stannis to get rid of the Bolton/Freys. You won't actually see this battle. The Battle of Meereen will be epic, I think. And so you don't need two epic battles. So this will be more like the Battle on the Wall with Stannis' troops, where Jon kind of sees it bits and pieces, but not the whole thing, right? So what ends up happening basically is that the Freys are drawn out, tricked. They go on the ice. The ice is already broken up, right, from all the overfishing, and it was never frozen over completely. The Freys sink beneath the ice. I actually think this chapter is going to be from Theon's point of view, and Theon actually falls in the ice as well with them at the end. That he's the bait, right? Because Ramsay wants his reek back, right? What actually happens is they take a head of someone. Ramsay Snow does not know what Stannis looks like. Back to Winterfell, along with his sword, and those fake Bolton allies, the actual Stark allies / now Stannis allies, go into Winterfell and basically open the gates for Stannis. I think this is going to be from Theon's point of view, actually, or his sister's maybe. Also, getting back to this, there's actually, I believe, 2 letters sent to the Wall. There's a pink letter and there's one prior to that. The first letter basically tells the Night's Watch to kill Jon Snow. Otherwise, the Night's Watch will be disbanded, and that's why they do it, and that's why they're so freaked out the whole time, and they're crying and that kind of stuff, is because they actually do like Jon, but they're going to kill him because otherwise the Night's Watch will be disbanded. I believe this order comes through the Boltons, through Tommen Baratheon. Okay? So So the Fraser wipeout, Winterfell, is given basically to Stannis. Meanwhile, on the wall, Jon is stabbed, so chaos is mounting on the wall. All sides are kind of turning on each other. I think Melisandre is able to get Jon's body out of there. Jon, I believe, is actually in Ghost. I believe there's two options. One, it could be kind of like Bran, where there's a coma. He keeps going back and forth between his body and Ghost's body, kind of learning his warging abilities. Or second, he's completely warged into Ghost. In the beginning of A Dance with Dragons, we learned that wargs can die multiple times, right? The one guy has died a bunch of times in different bodies, right? So that is also an option, okay? Either way, he'll be developing his warging abilities, okay? Back in Meereen, we know that the battle basically begins. We know this from a lot of sample chapters that George has read at Comic-Cons and stuff like that. So I don't want to go into details about that. They're all fighting. It's epic. It's like the Battle of the Blackwater. But at the end, the battle goes back and forth through all these chapters, and eventually what happens is it looks like the forces of Meereen under Tyrion, Mormont, Victarion, and Selmy are going to lose. But what actually happens is Dany comes back with full Khalasar and wins the battle. Okay, and I'll get back to that in a little bit. Sasha's in the area, continuing to suffer from Littlefingers. They're actually below, dealing with the nobles below that. And Robin continues to get weaker, basically. There's a power grab, basically, in King's Landing. Everything's all messed up. Cersei is back up to her old tricks. The Tyrells are fighting the Lannisters. Lannisters are fighting the Tyrells, and so it's all messed up, which gives Aegon a perfect chance, whether he's the real Aegon or the fake Aegon. I don't know. I think that'll go to the last book. But it gives him a good chance to take the capital, which he does very quickly. Okay, and I think a lot of these people flee to Highgarden. I think Cersei flees, but her son, Tommen, is captured. Okay, so now Aegon, with the help of the Dornish, have Tommen captured. I think it also has Tommen's sister captured. I think they bring her up north, it's kind of trippy. Okay, and I think he actually captures Loras too, and that becomes important later. Okay, so the Tyrells, actually Cersei, end up in Highgarden, and Aegon takes King's Landing with basically no big battle or anything like that. He just marches right in. Meanwhile, Jaime confronts Lady Stoneheart. She's going to give him the same option that Brienne had, which is rope or sword. He refuses to kill any of the Lannisters, of course, because they're kin. He doesn't want to be a kin killer. But he does agree to go against the Freys. He meets with the Freys, and I think he ends up doing damage to the Freys. He might kill Walder, he might not. I don't think he actually kills Walder. I think he kills some other Freys and then has to escape. So then he goes north to the Neck, basically. And while there, he gets captured by the Krakenmen, namely, and they take him to Howland Reed, who's their lord, of course. Basically, everyone is ending up in two camps, okay? They're either ending up in Dany's camp or Jon/Stannis' camp, okay? And that'll be important when the others invade, okay? So basically, I think the whole last two books is by herding everyone into these two camps who will then meet. And the question is, are they going to fight each other, or are they going to go against the others? Okay, so I think that then Jaime, Brienne, probably Podrick, and Howland Reed go north. I think there's other people in the Neck too, probably the Blackfish, probably a bunch of other Northerners, Robb's old allies that fled, whoever escaped the Red Wedding, people that he had already sent to the books. That doesn't happen in the series, but they're already in the Neck. Stannis, like I said, takes Winterfell, and I think actually Theon ends up seeing this chapter. Stannis gives Theon a choice. He can kill Ramsay Snow, okay, Bolton, whatever, and he can take the Black, both. Otherwise, he dies too. I think there's a big chapter in this, and Theon has to come to his own and all that kind of stuff, and he ends up killing and beheading Ramsay Snow for Stannis. And then Stannis leaves Manderley in charge, basically. Okay. Arya's continuing her training as a Murmur. Okay, as a faceless man. And I think this is where the chapter that we just got, this sample chapter, kind of fits in. Go back to Bronn, he's having visions of the far north. I think we learn a lot about the Night's King in all of this, that he's the actual enemy. That's already been a reveal in the series, so it's really not a huge reveal. But I think instead of seeing it the way we did in the series, I think you'll see that through Bronn's warging abilities continuing to grow. And that's really the true enemy. All this Game of Thrones stuff is just stupid, basically. So you can see the land of forever winter, and we begin to see the others as they really are. Okay, the others are complicated. There's a lot of theories online about the others. No one really knows what their motivation is, how they relate to the Children of the Forest, how they relate to the First Men, all that kind of stuff. How the Night's King relates to the female other, that kind of stuff. I think overall, in my opinion, the others want balance between life and death, and there's too much life. So when there was Children of the Forest and the others, there was some balance, right? There wasn't too many Children of the Forest, they weren't all over the place, but once men invaded, that became a problem, right? So that what they're trying to do is bring back the balance of life and death. A lot like the Faceless Men, interestingly enough. So anyway, Davos ends up in Skagos. He's captured and is told that the Child King rules Skagos and that Rickon is dead. Just as George R. R. Martin always does, there's probably a bunch of chapters where he's wandering around Skagos and is, facing death at every turn, and eventually he gets to the Child King, and it turns out it's Rickon, and eventually he gets Rickon to bring the Skagosian forces, basically, to Stannis' aid. I think they sail, and just as Davos always ends up getting shipwrecked, I think they get shipwrecked outside the Dreadfort, which puts them in danger from Royce Bolton, who I believe has escaped the Battle of Winterfell. Okay. Last thing I'm going to talk about is the Maesters. We just talked about the others, and the others have a secret agenda. They want balance, in my opinion, between life and death. Okay. I think the Faceless Men want the same thing, and we'll talk about that in the next video. But the Maesters, Sam is training to be a Maester, okay, and he's down there with Sphinx and Jaqen, although he doesn't know Jaqen is Jaqen. So the question is, what are the secrets of Maesters, and why are they doing these things? Okay, and actually, I'm going to do that in my next video because I'm running out of time here. Okay, so should be posted right after this one. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, write them below. It's my first video, so thank you for bearing with me, and that's about it.